Welcome to another episode of the Steal a Moment podcast with me, Michael LeBois. Today's guest is the beautiful and talented Malorie Felt, a young actress out of Los Angeles who I was lucky enough to become friends with in college. We both were students at the University of Northern Colorado and have kind of had our paths reverge here in the past recent history, as luck would have it. Very fortunate to have some time to talk to her. This was filmed a few months back, or not months back, a couple weeks back. I apologize. And she was working on a project with her husband, and they are trying to see when that will be ready to launch. You'll hear a little bit about it near the end of the episode, which is awesome. Really excited about that. She also has a upcoming project called Death Alley, which should be released in either late 2020 or early 2021. It's like a cool Western film that I'm excited to see myself. She also has a couple shorts out on YouTube you can watch. They're both fantastic. We mentioned them early in the episode, so you'll hear a little bit about those. Also, she's been a part of a theater festival, which was unfortunately last week. I should have seen that coming. I didn't mean to forget that. So, Malorie, I apologize. There's also a couple cute stories in this one as well. Her Meetcute, of how she met her husband, Nate, and the work that they've put in together through this quarantine. And, a little bit of advice for up-and-coming actors and actresses who are thinking about making the leap to Los Angeles and heading that direction early, and hopefully they can find a way to really make it happen for them. That's the ultimate goal. Other things to promote on my end, if you guys are watching this on the 16th, which is the day the episode drops, then go to Apple Music and Spotify and pick up your version and download Through Bloodshot Eyes by Gunpowder Empire. It's our first new single of the year. We released the running early in January, but that was more of a reimagining of a song that's been out for a while, that we wrote a long time ago. So please, if you guys would, head over to Spotify, pick up the track, head over to Apple Music, pick up the track, listen to it, let us know what you think. Follow us on Instagram at gunpowder_empire. Follow us on Facebook at Gunpowder Empire Denver. You can find all those links on our Instagram. You can find them. Also, follow our YouTube. We have a couple cool tracks coming up. I just released a version of Company by Justin Bieber last week. Sean and I are working on a cover that should be out hopefully in the next couple of weeks, which would be a lot of fun if you guys could jump on that. We're looking to get more subscribers to the YouTube page for the Gunpowder page. We're at 20 at the time of this recording. Also, guys, tell your friends about this podcast. Let's help this sucker grow, right? I mean, I'm at 30 subscribers. I'd love to hit the 50 subscriber mark by the end of the year. That's my plan. 50 subscribers by December 31st. And to, just see where this grows to. I've had a lot of fun doing this. There's a couple episodes coming up that are absolutely amazing. That'll be a lot of fun. 3 or 4 musicians that are really cool, really great conversations. And you know what? It's just fun. This conversation specifically, though, with Malorie is one of my favorites. It was really, really awesome to catch up with her because we hadn't seen each other in about 8 years, I think is what we determined. We went to a Rockies game over Labor Day weekend a few years back, and I actually think we recorded this episode just after Labor Day. On top of that, she also mentions that the day that we recorded, I believe, was the anniversary of the first day her and her husband met. So kind of an interesting blend of things that happened through all of this. But with all that said, Malorie and I would like to steal a moment. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well as well. It's good
Good.
to see you. I was trying to think back about how long it's been. I want to say it's probably been maybe close to 8 years. It's like Labor Day.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, Rockies game.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have already started recording, so we can start it wherever. These are just usually pretty easy, laid back situations because I don't, it's not real formal. It's just kind of nice to catch up with people and see people I haven't talked to in a while or who are doing things in the industries that I am interested in.
Heck
So,
yeah.
so I actually went back during the intermissions of the Avalanche game and watched a couple of the shorts that are on YouTube. Chapter 32 and Burning Memories. Are those the couple things that that's kind of like started off everything for you, or has it mostly been stage work in LA for you?
Um, it's a little bit of both, to be honest. So, Burning Memories was the first lead that I booked, which was super exciting for me. And it was a student film. So I was working with a girl who was working in theater, or not theater, excuse me, in film school. But the cool thing about that is they give you a nice budget, and we got to have like a premiere for it. So I got to see myself on the big screen for the first time. So that's like what really got me excited and made me feel like, oh yeah, I can do this. Like I can see myself doing it because it literally just happened. So that got me really excited. And then Chapter 32 was actually pretty recent. That was a friend of mine, Herb, who I'm still in touch with and I still do a lot of stuff with. And he did that for the Universal Employee Film Festival.
Oh,
And we ended up winning third place for that. So that was cool. Like won an award for a film that was shown at Universal. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, that's awesome. And now you have a couple other credits that are coming out soon, right? That are in post production, or at least hopefully coming out soon.
Yeah, exactly. So my most recent film was my first feature film that I booked. We shot that back in February and March of this year, right before COVID hit. But I got cast in a old Western film called Death Alley, and it is in post-production right now. And I did get word from the director and producer, same guy, that all of my scenes are locked in.
What?
And so yeah, it's really exciting, and yeah, I'm thrilled.
That's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. That's got to be a nice boost of confidence as you continue to grow and develop in this field of acting and being famous and all that stuff. We're both trying to get there, just in different routes.
It was amazing because it was my first time being flown to location. Like we shot in Kansas, and so like they flew me out and put me up in a hotel, and I just like it was just such a great, amazing first experience. And everyone on the cast and crew were just amazing, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them on social media right now. And everyone was just the best. I couldn't have asked for a better first feature film experience.
I would imagine that any first experience is always kind of the best one in that sense, especially because it's kind of surreal. And now you get to build from there and see where you can go. How has this whole wonderful pandemic kind of played a role in what you're doing right now? Are you working on anything, trying to get something else out creatively? What are you doing right now? I mean, I know what you're doing right now, but in general.
As far as like acting and film work is concerned, yeah, my husband and I are working together to try to put together some small shoots that we can do safely, pretty much with just the two of us and maybe like one other friend of ours who we know has been safe during this time. But that's a good thing about having a partner who's also creative, is you get to build and create with them as well. So I'm the main writer of the pair of us, so I'll write a script, and then he is really good at punching it up or improving on it or editing it. So he's really, really good at that. And so our most recent thing that we did, we actually finished shooting right before COVID hit as well, and he's been editing it. And it's called Charts, and it's a medical comedy. And I play the secretary nurse, mostly nurse, but she handles all the office stuff, and then he plays the doctor. And it's a lot of fun. And so he's working on finishing that up, and hopefully we'll be releasing that soon. But a lot of the focus right now is just updating my materials. I need to update my headshots and get more clips up there, just kind of stay fresh and stay relevant, and just try to stay ahead of the game as much as we can.
Yeah, that's something we're running into right now, obviously, without being able to play shows and not being able to really promote anything of us personally being around. Gunpowder Empire right now is getting ready to release 2 singles, shoot a couple videos with a crew that we know has been safe and is good, and get those out as well. So I completely understand on the creative side, it's really difficult to kind of manage that in this time period right now. But it sounds like you and Nate are doing a great job, and keeping that balance has got to be nice, at least so that you can keep staying creative and keep working hard.
Yeah, the first few months, I will admit, wasn't great. It was just a lot of adjustment, just like, this is the new normal. How do we do this? And we tried to stay motivated, but we ended up getting really just frustrated. And it was a lot of ups and downs for the first 2 months, I'd say. But now that we are kind of accepting the world for what it is right now, and our environment and the business, I think we feel a lot more positive and motivated now to work with what we've got and just push forward.
Yeah, and I can say it helps having a supportive partner as well. I'm very fortunate to have an amazingly supportive partner who's been helping me out. Like I'm able to record here. I'm able to work on my music here as well, and keep going with that, because not every partner can be like, she's amazing. I wouldn't be able to be doing most of this stuff without her. So I really appreciate that as well. I actually was curious. What's your Meetcute story? I don't think I ever found out how you and Nate met.
So we actually met on set. And this was 7 years ago today, actually.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
Today is our dating anniversary. It's been 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we met. Okay, so he was working on a project that he wanted to put out. It was a TV show. And he is writing partner and comedy partner. His name's Sean Weiss. You might know him from former movies such as The Mighty Ducks. He played Goldberg the goalie.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
So Nate and Sean were friends. They met as teenagers during the filming of Mighty Ducks, because they were filming in Minnesota, where Nate is from, and Nate kind of met them kind of on set a little bit briefly. And then once Nate made it out to LA, he and Sean ran into each other again and was like, oh, hey, how's it going? Yeah, let's be friends. And so they became a really amazing comedy writing duo. So they had this show. I'm not going to say too much about it because something still might happen with it.
Okay.
But they were filming some promo stuff, little short promo videos, just to try to gain some traction on the internet ahead of time, to kind of see if people would be interested. And I got hired for one of those promo videos. So I showed up on set, and it was actually Sean who cast me. But I showed up on set, and the premise was I was in the gym working out, and Sean's hitting on me, but he's actually doing a horrible job, and he ends up just insulting me.
Okay.
So Nate was directing and producing that, and after that we just started talking, and he offered to do new headshots for me, and just I guess trying to not let that be the last time that he saw me. So it worked.
Yeah, clearly. And you guys have been married for a year now.
Yes, we have. On the 11th was our anniversary of 1 year.
Wow, that's amazing too. That's actually super adorable, and I'm kind of like, that's amazing. That's really cool. I'm so happy to hear that that's how that happened. I was like, I don't remember. I was trying to tell my girlfriend, I thought I had some story. I made up something in my head that was totally not true. I will not share that with you because it's not as cool as what actually happened. But coming from a place like the western slope of Colorado to Greeley to eventually Los Angeles, what was the biggest change for you through that whole process?
Immediately, well, I would say going to Greeley was fine. I was still pretty young heading into college. I mean, like, just, I think, young emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have as much confidence when I was starting off college as, excuse me, as I think a lot of people do. But so I was a minor in theater when I first went to UNC. And then as time went on, I was about to graduate and become a teacher when I was taking a directing class, because I thought, oh, I'll just teach high school history and I'll direct the shows at whatever high school I end up at. And I'll just keep theater and acting be a part of my life because I can't give it up. I just love it too much. So I was in this directing class, and the teacher of that class happened to be the recruiter for the acting program at UNC. And he pulled me aside after class one day and was like, why are you just minoring in theater? I can see how much you love it. And I can see you come alive when you're up there performing. And then since he was the recruiter, it's his job to notice people like that. And so he convinced me to audition for the acting program. And it's a very wonderful program. It's very highly regarded, and only 20 people out of thousands get selected each year. And I happen to be one of the 20. So I postponed graduation, stayed for 2 more years, and ended up with 2 degrees. And after that, when it came time for really leaving UNC and graduating, I just kind of had one of those aha epiphany moments of, if I don't leave and go to LA right now, I'll always wonder what could have been. So I packed up everything that I could in my little car and drove out. And for the first few months, the hardest transition was, one, the traffic. I mean, everyone says it, but it's so true. It is the worst traffic, and it is horrendous. And I wish we had a much better system of like trains and buses, because it is just a nightmare to drive. I avoid driving at all costs out there. You let Nate drive. I'm like, here you go. And then the second biggest thing was my family. Like, I just love and adore my family so much, and I knew it was going to be a sacrifice going out there and leaving them behind. And that first holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, was the first time I had been without my family, because I wasn't able to go back because I was working. So that was definitely really hard. Adjustment was accepting that I was in this giant city of millions of people now, and without any real support system that was fully present with me. So that was a huge transition.
I can imagine that would be rough. And it trying to, bolster a career and start anew and essentially rebuild your entire life in a short period of time. I can only imagine being, especially because I know how much your family means to you. It's something that we talked often about. So for history between Malorie and I, we went to college together. I was her residence assistant for 1 semester. And I ended up being a residence assistant for 2 semesters, and then I got fired. That's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of those things, is like the passion you always had, because we talked about theater often, musical theater specifically, and how much of that impacted your daily life. Like, that was something you were very passionate about back then. Have you looked at music still as a side, or is there anything in your repertoire that you continue to use any musical aspects to?
I've actually fallen off the musical journey a little bit, just because, again, of that whole confidence thing. And also, it's not really what I want to pursue. But I am involved with an incredible theater company in LA right now. And I work with some amazingly talented people, as well as just huge-hearted individuals who are all about inclusivity and telling the stories of the little guy and the underrepresented, excuse me. So working with them has been absolutely amazing. And we're called Ammunition Theater Company. And we don't do a lot of musicals. We've done one, which was written by an actual company member, and that was fantastic. But I just kind of lost my confidence in singing and music along the way, just because there were so many other people who I felt were much better than me. And so I just decided to focus on the acting portion. And because my dream job would be on a television show, on a crime drama, where I'm kicking ass and taking names and saving people, and I'm the hero. So that's my dream job right there. So I don't really need to pursue that musical side if I want to do that.
Yeah, I can tell from your demo reel that one of your first cuts in that demo reel is you as a detective, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I could see you stealing a CSI job somewhere or doing something of that nature. That's the goal. Hey, you know what? You know what your goal is. That's the important portion of trying to figure out where to go next. So the important thing too is that you never really gave up on that passion, and you've really pushed and tried to get to that next level. What is some advice that you would give to someone in, say, the position you were in heading into moving to Los Angeles, or making that decision to get into the acting school at Northern Colorado? Well, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to someone in that position?
Yeah, I would say if you want to pursue musical theater, I highly recommend the program at UNC. They adore musical theater students. Not that they don't adore regular acting students, but it seems like a lot of the musical theater is a lot more competitive, and they really groom you for that. While I did love my time in the acting program there, and it did help me with my confidence enough to actually move to Los Angeles, I don't think it was necessary to pursue a television or movie career. A lot of what I learned from LA is that people in LA, like the casting directors and the agents, only care about your training if it's local and if they recognize the name. So even though UNC has an amazing program with incredible teachers, and I learned a lot and I definitely improved my craft, no one in LA really cares. They just want you to show up and be good, and they want to look at your resume and see that you've trained in these things, and ideally with someone that they recognize in LA. So because they're just two completely different beasts, even New York and LA are completely different beasts. And there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of actors who are in my same age range and type and everything. So you have to stand out. And the best way to do that is to get in with the locals and to know what to do. So that'd be my first thing, is decide what route you want to go, and then decide what kind of education and training is best for that. And then another thing is don't be too gung-ho about moving. Like I said, there are hundreds of thousands of people vying for that job. So just an example, there could be on a standard TV show, like say Criminal Minds, there's a co-star role that is like the victim or something on that show. So when the casting goes out for that role, about anywhere, but depending on the breakdown and what they're looking for, there'll be around 2,000 to 5,000 people who submit for that. They will choose 10 to 20 people to audition. So if you're not coming into LA with credits, with training, with some student films under your belt, with a good solid foundation of materials, you're going to do what I did and just kind of scramble and learn as you go, and just kind of take the hard road. So that's something I wish I had known, is that you don't have to rush to LA. If you want to go, set the goal and work at it, but it's best to become a big fish in a little pond where you are, and then take the move, because you come showing up way more prepared than any other new arrival who comes.
That's brilliant advice. I will, that's going to be the clip. We're cutting that one and putting it in somewhere else. And yeah, you made a very interesting comment, because I have some friends who are in the comedy realm of the world who talk about how different Los Angeles is compared to New York. And could that be more tied to New York's focus on the theater more than, say, television? Or is it about 50-50 there, and then Los Angeles being more of like film, TV, and like other forms of media?
I did spend a summer in New York training, and I loved that, but I didn't really get to know what was available as far as shooting was concerned. I do know a lot of the shows that are filmed in New York, they will cast those smaller roles from local hires. So it kind of just depends on what the show is and where they're filming it. But a lot of casting and stuff still does happen out of Los Angeles for that. And obviously New York is known for Broadway and theater, and that's like the Mecca if you want to do that. And then what I did learn though is LA has an incredible theater community, and it's filled with amazingly talented people. And a lot of it is actually film and television actors who trained in theater and want to get back to their roots because they love the creativity. It's so different, and it stretches your muscles and it keeps you fresh. And so a lot of the people I've gotten to work with are working television and movie actors who just want to give back to the theater community and do it for the love of it. So that was a really cool thing to discover, that there is an actual amazing theater community in LA. It's just not as well known.
That's a very good thing to know. I know it's difficult in some situations to think of Los Angeles as a theater town. So that's fantastic to know that that's an option. Have you considered maybe doing any voiceover work? Have you done anything with that as well? Or is it mainly just live action stuff?
I have considered it, especially right now during this pandemic. It's something that we do have a lot of microphones. My husband collects a bunch of microphones that are amazing. A lot of them are for music because he is a musician and a harmonica player and singer songwriter.
He does everything. He's just amazing.
He is. He's so talented. But yeah, so we have a bunch of microphones. We have the ability to set it up. I just never really thought about it much until now. And now I'm like, well, I might as well try. I mean, it's something to stay creative and get going. So he is actually working on his voiceover reel as we speak. And he is looking to get into it a lot more seriously than I am at the moment. But one of us for sure is wanting to explore that a lot further.
Yeah, I've looked into that as well as part of my way to stay inside the media world. I mean, music is great, but it's a really, really, really difficult field to even get your name out into. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to tour and do some of the amazing things that not very many musicians get the chance to do, which is amazing to think about. But I've looked into voiceover work as well. And it's something that's, it's daunting and it's kind of scary because you have to be able to maintain a character for an extended period of time. And I've been fortunate enough to meet some really amazing voiceover actors over the last few years, and talk to them about their craft and skills. And it's interesting to kind of see how different that world is compared to actual acting, because you kind of have to invent a lot more.
For sure.
Could you see that being a way to maybe help bolster writing, even like creating characters through voiceover work and then developing those characters maybe into a live action character?
Absolutely. I mean, I think no matter what you do creatively, it sparks something else in another facet. So I think it's absolutely a good gateway to working on the writing and creating more content and stuff. I was lucky enough a few years back to meet D. Bradley Baker, who is one of the best voiceover actors of all time. If you're watching a cartoon and there's an animal doing like a little voice, that's probably D. Bradley Baker. He has voiced, I think, thousands of characters throughout the years. So I got to meet him and talk to him a little bit, and I learned that the voiceover community is a lot smaller than the acting community. It's very tight-knit, and you just have to have a really excellent ear. And something that Nate has learned recently is you also have to have an arsenal of voices in your back pocket. So even if they call you in for one character, they might need a quick pickup for a secondary character. And like, they'll just be like, hey, can you do that voice real quick? And so you just kind of have to have something in your back pocket ready to go. But yeah, I mean, it's all intertwined. It all interacts somehow. And especially since now it's really important for people to make their own content, you learn pretty quickly that there's so much more that you can do than just perform or than just direct or just write. Like it all blends together quite effortlessly, I would say.
And they all tie into my next question, which is also over my shoulder here. You got to do a Marvel commercial, didn't you?
I did. I got to portray Captain Marvel.
Was that a lot of fun? Was that super cool? How did that feel? I've been wanting to ask you that since it happened.
Yeah, it was amazing. So the funniest thing about that was, so it was a commercial for their video game, the virtual reality game that they came out with. And the audition itself was a self-tape from home, which is pretty standard a lot now in the industry, because it's a lot faster for casting directors just to receive tapes from home from actors and view them on their own time and then cast them off of that. So those are becoming a lot more prevalent in the industry. But anyway, so my self-tape was just show us your moves, basically. And so I had to record myself fighting an imaginary bad guy. And luckily enough, I'd been training in kickboxing for about a year before that. And so I felt pretty confident in it. And sure enough, I got cast just off of the self-tape. I didn't have to go in and do a callback or anything. So they booked me off of my tape. And when I found out, I was just elated, because I mean, I love comic books. I love superheroes. It's right up the alley of what I want to do for the rest of my career. And so we showed up on set and we filmed it in the Black Dahlia house, which, if you know anything about Hollywood true crime,
Mm-hmm.
Dahlia is a woman who was murdered, and her murder has never really been solved, but there's this doctor who everyone thinks did it, and he had this house built, and it's very architecturally interesting and creepy and cool, and it is available for production to rent out, and that's the location they chose. So
Nice.
in addition to filming this amazing superhero commercial, I got to be at the Black Dahlia house on top of it, and it was a 2-night shoot. And I mean, I just remember having an amazing amount of fun, and everyone else, again, who worked on it with me were really cool, amazing actors. We all got along really well. So when we weren't needed on set, we're just hanging out until we were needed. And we did a photo shoot first. And so if you go on like Amazon and look up the game, they'll have like little images. And I'm portraying Captain Marvel in one of those images. And they just kind of use it for marketing materials as they see fit. And then my fight scene was actually the last scene that they were filming. So I had to wait till the very, very end. And that was a little nerve-wracking, because everyone wants to go home. You know, it's the last one. Everyone's tired, because I started filming, I think, at like 1:30 in the morning, because they needed to be pitch black. And so it was all fun. But I got up there, and the director was awesome. His name's Brandon. And he was just like, all right, you got this, you know, do this and let's go for it. And so I kind of did what they asked me to do. And then he would give me notes, and I would try to do it again. And then I think that's the hardest thing of being an actor, is each time you get a note, you have to strip away what you were just doing and try to keep it fresh and new each time. And you really have to put your ego aside, especially if the client's sitting right there and they know what they want. So there was a representative from Marvel, there was a representative from Lenovo, and I believe there was a representative from Disney there as well, I think. But so they were all watching on the monitor while I was fighting an imaginary video game bad guy. And it was amazing. It was so much fun.
That I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, is that? And then I looked, it was you, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Because that's one of those things that you don't expect to see every day. Someone you've known for a long time, like, just appear in a commercial for a game that you might potentially be interested in playing at some point. I just don't have any VR setups here yet. Yeah. I mean, that'll come when I have a room that I can turn into my dreamatorium, if you will, if you're a Community fan. But
long time ago, but I didn't rewatch it.
Yeah, we actually have just been catching up on shows. Like, I've been trying to watch stuff that I didn't watch before. I'm the worst millennial in history. I didn't watch Parks and Rec. I didn't watch Community. I didn't watch a couple other shows. That New Girl.
I just started watching New Girl.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I love it, but I just started watching it. I felt like I was so far behind, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to use my quarantine time for, is watching New Girl.
There you go. Nice. Yeah, that was something that we kind of powered through, because Hillary has seen it a bunch, like once or twice, I think. And then she was like, you have to watch the show. How have you not watched the show? And so, I relate to Schmidt. I relate to Nick very much so in multiple ways. And I don't know how I relate to Schmidt, but I feel it every once in a while. I break into that Jewish voice that his cadence is the key.
His cadence is great.
Yeah. What else are you watching right now? Are you watching anything else? What's got your quarantine lockdown?
So in order to get motivated to write stuff, I actually went back and started Criminal Minds from the beginning. That's one of my go-tos just because that is so much what I want to do. So I started that from the beginning and I made it up until, spoiler alert, anyone who hasn't seen it, I mean, it's been 20 years, you should see it by now. But anyway, Hodge's wife, when she gets murdered, I always like watch it up to there. And then I know I can't emotionally handle that episode and I either skip ahead or I just stop. And this time I stopped. But yeah, I got some really good content to kind of inspire me to write a scene for that kind of a character for me. So I've been watching that. I am obsessed with Queer Eye. I love it so much. It's just such a great, heartfelt show, which is so positive. And it actually helped me get through the quarantine a little bit because I started to get really depressed and kind of angry. And with like the climate the way it is across the country, I just found myself getting really angry easily, which isn't like me. And so I started watching Queer Eye and it just helped. It was like therapy. And Nate walked in one day and I was crying. I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. And he's like, what are you watching? And so I convinced him to watch it with me. And then he got hooked and it became our binge together. It was great.
Oh, that's so good. So we've been trying to, Hillary's catching me up on a bunch of movies that I missed that you'd be ashamed that I haven't seen. Things like
I'm pretty bad too. As an actor, I suck at watching things I'm supposed to.
Yeah, we saw. I'd never seen In and Out with Kevin Kline, and that's a fantastic movie. Matt Dillon, Tom. Oh God, Tom Selleck? Yeah, I got an assist on that one. And Joan Cusack, and then He's Just Not That Into You. I always diss that movie off as nothing. Greg Behrendt wrote a great movie. There's some great characters in that movie. Justin Long's one of my favorites, and I totally didn't even know he was in that. And
yeah, that's a good one.
I also found out that's the reason my girlfriend doesn't like Jennifer Connelly, which I thought was kind of strange, but I get it now. And then we've been powering through some shows on Netflix. We just started Dark a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I literally just started that one too right before I came to Colorado. I got two episodes in, I think.
So we're in season 2. We're halfway through season 2, and we watched I think episode 5 last night, right? Yeah, and it ended. It was 10:45. We're we have to get up tomorrow to do things. And we're both sitting there going, we go down and we lay in bed and then we start talking about the characters. But what do you think the situation is with this one? Because I'm not going to ruin anything for you since you've started it.
Thank you.
But it is just insane. It's really well structured. It's really interestingly written. The character development is done really well. It's one of those shows I would have never expected to be as good as it is, but it's incredible. Excuse me.
Yeah. I just love it when shows kind of go out of the box a little bit and kind of do what's unexpected or just not quite what's on trend right now, and just kind of makes you want to keep watching. I mean, that's the key to any TV show really, but for my husband and I, we're both pretty picky. He's a lot pickier than I am because he's been behind the scenes in front of the camera. He's been in the business since he was 6 years old. So it has to be spot on for him to get lost in it. Otherwise he's picking it apart. He'll be like, oh, that was a weird take. Why did they do that camera angle when they could have done this? So he's always constantly analyzing and picking things apart, but we both really appreciate things when he can just sit back and be engulfed in it and not have to think about it.
Yeah, I run into that situation with music all the time, especially now that I've gotten more into the production side of things with the current band I'm in, because we are a lot more hands-on with all of that. I now listen to music with a strangely different ear. I'm I don't understand why they would structure that portion this way. I would have done it that way, or so on and so forth, or looking at it that way. So Nate dude, I totally get it. I'm gonna wrap this up because I know you've got stuff to take care of with family, and we gotta make sure the water's working here. They turned the water and the air off today for the entire building, so we've been trying to make sure that it works.
I love being an adult. I mean,
it's the best.
Adulting is just, I didn't think it'd be this hard, but it sure is quite the ride.
Yeah, and you know what? If they had told us we had to pay bills all the time, I would have stayed in college.
Right.
Oh, dorm life, how I don't really miss it at all.
That's true.
Especially McAllen with the shared showers space.
Oh, good old McAllen.
Oh, it's not there anymore, which is nice. I think, were you still there when they tore it down?
Yeah, I think, weren't we like the second to last group to live there though?
Yes, we were. Because I moved to Central Campus after.
Right.
To go to Wilson and be an RA there. And then when I got fired, I moved to Web King and was underneath the theater floor for an entire semester. So that was fun.
Hear a lot of singing?
A lot of singing. Rent everywhere. Rent everywhere. But drop some places where people can follow you, find your information, what's coming up next for you, stuff like that.
Heck yeah. So I'm on Instagram the most as far as social media is concerned. So I'm at Malorie Felt. And I spell my name interesting. It's probably on this podcast label somewhere, but it's MALORIEFELT. Professionally, I'm keeping my maiden name. I will stay Malorie Felt professionally. I have yet to change my last name. Personally, I just haven't gotten around to it yet after a year. But yes, Instagram at Malorie Felt. I do have a fan page on Facebook, but I mean, everything funnels through there on Instagram. And I'm not on Twitter yet, but that is on my list to join. So, and I do have a website, maloriefelt.com. Yeah, and then upcoming, I mean, the business is just so open-ended right now. No one really knows what's going on. Unfortunately, the acting bracket where I am is getting cut back on a little bit. So I'm not sure exactly what opportunities I'm going to have once I get back, but I'm optimistic. And I mean, I just hope to release charts pretty soon. And other than that, just keep creating content so that Nate and I can entertain y'all.
Oh, well, I really appreciate Malorie. Thank you for taking some time out with me today. And it's been really nice catching up and at least seeing you for at least in a Zoom call. It's been wonderful, and I'm happy to see you're doing so well.
Thanks. Right back at you. So good to chat with you, and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll talk again soon. I'll let you know when everything's posted, and tell your mom I said hi, and we'll talk soon.
Perfect. Take care.
It almost feels like someone else is living my life. 'Cause it almost feels like someone else is living my life.